To fully understand why Kendrick Lamar fans are thinking that there is going to be another big album before April 19th, we have to take it back to 2017. After Kendrick had dropped Damn, his to date then biggest album yet, there were rumors about a possible follow-up record called Nation. This was fueled by him hinting at new music and his producer Soundwave hinting at a theme of duality between a red and a blue record. This would obviously then have the combined titles of Damn Nation, and fans made entire theories about this, and Kendrick at least admitted that sometimes the fans are right about certain theories, that he called them crazy in putting all the dots together. He also said that fans are always right there knowing about certain songs that haven't dropped yet, but that even he himself is surprised that they know about. So we know that Kendrick fans are always on the lookout for some secret album. Now, Nation obviously never dropped because we had to wait 5 years, over 1800 days in between Damn and Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, as all of us should be aware of, but it still never died down that Kendrick has a bunch of unreleased records now also being fueled up again after he dropped GNX in November of 2024, as we are moving closer and closer to his upcoming tour, the Grand National Tour with SZA. Now, to understand why fans think that there is another big album, we have to take a closer look at GNX, the album that surprise dropped in November. Now, fans were expecting a really big record from Kendrick Lamar. He was just coming off of the beef with Drake that he undeniably won, and we know that he's been working on a new record ever since May of 2022 when he dropped Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. So 2.5 years in between both of those records. And the reason people are thinking it's going to be dropping before April 19th is because that is when his tour with SZA, the big Grand National Tour, is actually coming up. He's also riding high off of the momentum that he gained from having one of the best Super Bowl performances that at least a hip-hop artist has ever done, and also by now again replacing Drake at the #1 spot, replacing Nokia with Not Like Us Again. So it's all looking pretty damn good for Kendrick. Now, GNX obviously has some interesting characteristics. The title of the record referring to a West Coast staple car, the Grand National, and its upgraded version, the GNX. The GN meaning Grand National. This obviously also then ties back to the name of the tour, the Grand National Tour, which obviously also is a pun in itself because it was originally a national tour before the international dates got added. And this all ties back to GNX not being exactly what fans were expecting. They were expecting a really big new album with big features, big production on there, and GNX was more of a niche West Coast project with only West Coast artists being featured. We do have SZA on there, she's the only big pop star, but rumors about Taylor Swift being on the next record obviously didn't come true. Also, a runtime of only a little over 40 minutes were at least not what fans were expecting. So they immediately thought that this would be only a little mixtape before the next big album would come. Now, tying this back to the title, you could also say that we have this big new album, the Grand National album, coming up after GNX, which was only the upgraded little version, kind of the mixtape for it. This now also tying back, maybe as a pun from Kendrick himself, to the fan theories about Nation dropping after Damn. This time having the Grand National, then also connecting to GNX. And the reasons for a new album still dropping really do not fall short because, for one, we have The Hard Part 6 being featured on the track list for GNX, and we all know that the Hard Part series is a series that always drops before a new record drops. The Hard Part songs are never featured on the actual albums. Just like in the case of Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, the Hard Part 5 was only put on like a third disc afterward, and the fact that we had the Hard Part 6 on GNX led a lot of people to believe that this could have only been an entire project as the lead up to the next big project. We also have in the trailer for the GNX album a song that he also then performed at the Super Bowl that we hadn't heard yet because it didn't end up on GNX. This is so far titled Bodies by the fans and is really at this point a grail that fans are anticipating, and this could then lead into the next album, just like we had a snippet from Squabble Up in the music video for Not Like Us, and this obviously led to the release of GNX half a year later. So fans are thinking that's a pretty big link as well. Also, there are 2 GNX cars in the trailer for GNX, maybe also hinting at this duality of a GNX upgraded version mixtape and the Grand National big album that is then coming before the Grand National tour. Otherwise, he could have also named the tour the GNX Tour. He's named it the Grand National though. All of this obviously comes besides the fact that GNX doesn't feel like a big record. I mentioned the features, the runtime, but also the production is interesting. We have a lot of Mustard on the album, but we know that Mustard has only been working with Kendrick Lamar ever since Not Like Us. That was their first song together. And we know that Mustard sent hundreds of beats to Kendrick, who then only chose Not Like Us in May of 2024. So if this was the record that Kendrick has been working on for 2.5 years, why is a lot of the production only able to be traced back to at least the period between May of 2024 and November of 2024. This comes again in addition to the fact that we've gotten word that some of the material for GNX was only recorded the couple of days before release, and the label also only found out about the release of GNX the morning of that Friday. So this all combines into this mystery of how GNX actually came out and if this is actually the big record that we were expecting or that Kendrick was working on for more than 2 years. Now, there is still the theory that this is just going to be a deluxe. We, for example, have the lyrics on Squabble Up, double back like a deluxe. We also have Lefty Gunplay, who's featured on the record, talking about a possible deluxe coming. So the options we have before April 19th is that there is going to be a big new album. Just like Nation back in 2017, this could be the Grand National connecting to GNX. This is something that at least I can see a lot of good reasons to believe. Now, time is running out. That is a very obvious fact that we have to take into consideration, but it's not like it would be impossible for Kendrick to drop another big project. We've seen, for example, with Tyler the Creator, that sometimes you only need just a week of a great, concise, and focused rollout like he did for Chromacopia to actually get people excited. You don't need half a year of hints and leaks and snippets like maybe, for example, The Weeknd did for Hurry Up Tomorrow to build up a big amount of hype, especially not when it's Kendrick, who, as I mentioned earlier, is riding a big wave of momentum right now, also carrying over into this tour. So there could just be a deluxe coming out over the next couple of days, but the theory or the possibility that there is another big album, Grand National, just like Nation back in 2017 for Damn, is really not out of the conversation. But obviously, this is all just theorizing. This is all just Kendrick fans coming together, thinking about new music dropping, but it really is some sort of tradition in the Kendrick circles ever since at least 2017. I do want to know what all of you think about this theory. We've talked about this quite a bunch of times before as well, but now tying this back to 2017 Nation, it gets even more interesting, and I think that is a context that we need to really understand why this is such a popular theory right now. Let me know what you think about all of this and what more in-depth videos you would like to see in the future in the comments down below.